The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are being cared for in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the land by employees of various corporations guised as county, city, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations. And as such, they, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income from the Aboriginal, indigenous people, or any people on American soil. This making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable Constitution treaty secured rights of the people, Aboriginal, indigenous Moors. So we start off with our sister Abkare Bay, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Now we say under the purview of Tennessee, which is a union state, because every union state is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. We then have Daoud Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslemin Ill under the purview of Missouri, as well as Kush Su Ra Kush Bay. We have Asar Patar Amin Ra under the purview of Ohio. And if we don't have the municipal corporation, the ones that did the kidnapping, the employees that did the kidnapping, we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people. We have Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Canaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalik Alamin Ill, and Michael Curry Bay, all being held under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Ill, being held under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, being held through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update regarding the Patricia Bay's infant baby kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Marquis Sevion Ill under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bay and Mumi Abu Bay under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill and Womani Abidwell Ill, William Barrett A. kidnapped under the purview of Virginia, and Womani Abidwell Ill kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia, Cherry Bay under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Juarez Ill, kidnapped under the purview of Harlem, under the purview of Georgia, Natural Tahuti Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania Corporation, and then Rennie Bay, kidnapped by Hamilton Corporation under the purview of Ontario, which is a subcorporation of Canada. All right. There we have Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is in violation of the American Constitution, and it is a treaty violation. And being that we're talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal, Indigenous on this land, who are being kidnapped by foreign, or rather employees of a foreign corporation on American soil, this makes this an international issue, because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far of your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com, and in the subject line put Kidnap Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that they are in, that corporation is in purview to. All right? Thank you very much. All right, Islam, and welcome to Moor's Heritage and History School. Sorry, not Moor's Heritage and History School. Welcome to MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Annie Eda L., along with my co-host, Rosemary Bay. Oh, goodness, wait a minute now. Wait, where'd she go? Alrighty. She was just here a minute ago. Oh boy, where's I'm hoping she did not drop off, so she's gonna have a hard time trying to get back in. And wait a minute, my computer is moving slow as molasses. Oh boy. Oh, all right. Okay, something's going on with my computer. Just give me a second. All right, she is here, but she's not showing up in the queue. So let me unmute Kojo Azwael.
Islam.
Mizraim is traveling, and here she is. Rosemary, are you there? Oh, goodness.
She muted.
I just saw her a minute ago. Hold on. Don't hit one again. All right. Roz, are you there? You're unmuted, but I'm not hearing anything. Must be one of those Syrian retrograde days.
Kuja, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now.
There you
go. Wow.
Mercury comes out of retrograde on the prophet's solar return, which is January the 8th. So communication might be a little, strange for a moment.
Yes.
Right.
That certainly was a strange one. All right. Mizraim is traveling. He may join us if he can get to a charge port. Other than that, I want to send a big shout out to our internet listeners. The chat room is open. Big shout out to our family listening over near the Corporation of Great Britain, South Africa, Japan, the Netherlands, Islam, Brother Albacet, the Philippines, brothers over there, or our family near the corporation known as Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Puerto Rico, and Cuba, Brazil, Mexico, and family we have yet to connect with. Peace and love. Thank you so much for joining us. To our listening audience, our family that calls in every week, thank you so much for calling in every week, filling up the phone lines before the broadcast even begins. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Today's broadcast is a Freestyle Tuesday. We haven't done a Freestyle Tuesday in a while. And I thought it would be great to do one because there's just so many issues to discuss. And we just can't, it's just so much that you just can't fill it up in just one broadcast. Plus, we also want to give our listening audience an opportunity to put whatever is going on in their lives, in their world, whatever's going on the table. So since we haven't done one in a while, felt it would be appropriate to do one as we get closer to the end of this year, which everybody ought to know is March 21st. The end of this week is the end of the fiscal year, which has nothing to do with life and nature on a whole. It has everything to do with corporations and the closing out of their books, or I should say the zeroing out of their books. And so if you understand accounting, you know what that means. So it has nothing to do with the people at all. They are literally telling you that this is a business, or as I like to say, this is a business. All our Ebonics family out there, call Ebonics, Just because you want to talk in a creative manner doesn't mean it's Ebonics. It just means it's creative. So anyways, that's what the end of this week is all about, the end of that fiscal year. So I don't know what to talk about first. There's just so many things happening. It's just so many things happening. But you know what? I'll say this. It doesn't really matter what is happening. It really doesn't. It's because this is what's going on. The players may change, but the game remains the same. And as long as people don't get the game, and when I'm using the word game, but it's not a game. Right. I'm using it because there's a saying, the players may change, but the game remains the same. This is not a game. This is about people's lives. But what has happened is that the people seem to have forgotten that it is their individual obligation to know law, to know history, and to know your place in the two. I was watching this, a little bit of this video. I think it was on YouTube. I don't even go on YouTube that much except to post, the syllabus. But they had this this brother Robinson is all I can remember of the appellation, the surname, and he was talking about how people don't know what part of the world they come from. No, he said, I asked the so-called black people what part of the land do their family come from. This is an interesting question because most people will fall for that crap. They'll ask, what part of the land does your family come from? And he said, and that was a shame because the majority of the so-called black people didn't know where their family come from. But if you ask the so-called white people, everybody's hands went up. And I was like, that's a trick question. Because if you're Asiatic, you got that copper complexion of the people found here, then you know that your family to every other Asiatic being on planet Earth, there's only two families. You got the Asiatic family and you got the modern European. Those are the only families. I don't care what surname you're rocking. It doesn't matter necessarily what title, because there's 5 titles, but the 5 titles make up one family. All right? It doesn't matter if you're a light complexion, copper tone being, or a darker complexion, copper tone being. It doesn't matter whether you got, somewhat straight hair or some tightly curled hair. It doesn't matter what part of planet Earth you were birthed out of your mother from, because the bottom line is this. Your nationality and birthright is based on your mother. It's not based on a geographical location. So it doesn't matter what geographical location you was birthed, because your bloodline is that of the human family, the supreme being, her, the Moabite woman. Out of her that everybody comes. So that was a trick question that doesn't even, and really to me, knowing what I know, it doesn't even deserve a response, because I don't need to validate myself. I know who the hell I am. I know where I come from. I know who my ancestors are. And I don't need nobody to validate that for me, because I know. So sometimes we have to really look at what people are saying, because even your own people will throw trick questions at you, got you going to some freaking foreigner giving up your private and confidential information in the form of DNA, talking about, can you tell me where I come from? You come from planet Earth. Islam.
Islam. You know what? It's funny because I'm going to give the definition. I think a year ago or so, we may have shared this on the show. I think Ms. had brought it up to me and showed it to me as to the definition of Moabite. Because you just said it doesn't really matter where your mother is on the land. You are whatever she is. So to make that clear to people, let's say that your mother's in China. That's really corporate China. And she gives birth to her child there. That does not make that child Chinese at all. So we're talking political statuses, a nationality, which determines your political status, and of course domicile determines your civil. So I'm going to give the definition, but first I got to say this. I was cleaning up because every season change. I just want to share this with people. Every season change, you really must recognize that this is about the cycle of the sun as it relates to the earth, and as it turns north, east, south, west, takes an abrupt turn, 90-degree angle turn, basically, and goes in the other direction. So each season represents that turning, and it's like getting your attention and turning in another direction. action. So what you feel in your body often, if you're in tune, even if you're not in tune, it's subliminal. You feel like you want to make a change also, somewhere, somehow. Now, most of us are used to people saying spring cleaning. That is the vernal equinox, where the spring comes in. But there's also 3 other seasons that the sun makes its turns. And you subliminally get the same feeling to you want to make some sort of change. So I always make a change of some kind. I'm not saying I change around the whole house every time, but I'm going to change something. And it's not that I'm necessarily conscious of it. It's just a urge subliminally that comes to make some sort of change. And I was trying to figure out, well, why is that? But I know, knowing astrologics and how these energies of the planetary bodies affect us here, that's really what it comes from. So if there's anybody out there that feels that way, it's not just the spring that you do this, be it cleaning or changing or whatever. You feel it all the time. So I was in the midst of doing that. And I found a notebook with some notes in it, and this is where I found this, where I had written in hand, wrote down the definition of Moabite. So now you just said, you're born from your Moabite mother. Everybody knows we're Moabites. All right. So what is the definition of Moabite? And thanks to Miz, he found this. It says a member. Now listen very, very carefully. A member of the ancient Semitic people, closely related to the Hebrews, or Hebrew, that's all those out there to say they're Hebrews, all right? Mama was a Moabite. And then it says, an officer of the law, as in a bailiff. Now, this is a mind-blowing definition of what a Moabite is. That means the Moabite mother and her child, both. A member of the ancient people, not modern, closely related to the Hebrews or Hebrew, and an officer of the law, as in a bailiff. That's why a civilian, if you look that up, just look up civilian, even if you think you're just laying back and you ain't going to do anything, and you ain't going to proclaim anything, and you're not going to honor your mother or your father, and you're not going to, deal with the ancient principles and enforce these ancient principles on your land estate, even if you think that's who you are, not going to be, but you're simply going to be, a civilized person, let's put it that way, a civilized being, then the definition of a civilian is one who is what? Skilled in the law. Now, I brought that up because earlier, and we also talked about the ancient. So this brings us to this conversation, or just some sharing of some information regarding those who say that they're starting something new today. So if you're starting something new, even the modern European to be the ancient, I don't think so. If you think you're starting something new and you haven't even honored that which was already left ancestrally to protect you and your posterity forevermore, then you just abandon that which is your estate. And now you're out there trying to create an estate, because many people don't realize they're already on their estate and their inheritance. So since they went and did things like redeemed, made contracts to redeem birth certificates and all that kind of craziness, right? Since they've done that, now they're left slandering and have basically denounced their relationship to the American land, or Northwest Maxim, Northwest Africa, North America, modernly called. They've abandoned that by doing those processes. So now someone's saying, well, look, you got to create an estate when you were already on the estate and you left it to be abandoned, and then you wonder why these foreigners act like they're going to do what's called this cheating on it, because the people who are supposed to be competent to receive their inheritance is running away from it, simply put. So now there's some new stuff. And we were talking about how somebody out there is talking about they're the president of the newly formed and established U.F.A. All right. Well, in a minute, what did you share with me? You said it's, these modern Europeans are getting their acts together, realizing they're not the sovereigns, realizing that they're not corporate persons either by nature, and they are modifying or not modifying, enforcing the responsibilities that the Union States have where they are concerned, which is derived from the Constitution, which is the law of this land. And they themselves are going to make sure that they utilize all that they can, because they gave up the sovereign citizen movement because they know that they're not the sovereign citizen. Of course, they threw it in the trash, and here comes our people trying to go with it. They gave up all that stuff knowing. So they're going to enforce the Constitution as it relates to them. And whoever this guy is that's supposed to be a Moor that says he's newly established the United States Republic, well, the United States of America Republic established for modern Europeans. And they're not going to let them get away with that but for so long. And that was the conversation you and I were having. I don't know if you want to add something to that, because I just want to say this, and then I yield. We are always trying to find something new and improved and some other route to take rather than the instructions to enforce the law of this land, which is established to protect you from being molested by these other citizens. We always do that, and then we allow the modern Europeans, who are the trustees and public officials and things like that, and what we think is our government, who want to run away from that responsibility to guide you into starting something new and different, because they are the ones, instead of recognizing that they are the ones who are violating that very law. So they'll lead you down some other road to start some new thing, and you're caught. You're caught in contracts and agreements and things of such that you ought not have made if you were truly conscious about who you are and where you are. So just another one to lead you to have to figure out how to back out of that, because if you were a conscious ill obey, you would already know not to do that. So all you're showing is that you do not recognize your ancestral estate. You do not recognize where you are in it, in the law of the land. You don't recognize what national principles are. And so you just keep getting led down whatever. So did you want to make a comment on that, where the brother or whoever it is talking about the new United States Republic, which was established for modern Europeans and never for Moors?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and this is just a little food for thought. If there is someone alleging to establish or reestablish something new for the Moor, which is an absolute, what is the word I'm looking for? Oxymoron, I think it is.
Travesty.
That too. It's oxymoron, travesty, conundrum, all rolled up into one. Somebody alleging to reestablish something new for the Moors. All right? Then that would now make the modern Europeans the ancient people. Because the Moorish nation, has been in effect for over 50,000 years.
More than that, still in effect.
I mean, that's why I said over 50,000.
Yeah.
Over 50,000. That's 50,000 plus years. So we can never be new. We're ancient. That's what this whole birthright stuff is all about. We're ancient people, and the fact that we are ancient people and this land is our inheritance, and you got foreigners, Johnny-come-lately, attempting to mentally, condition the people into thinking that you don't have any rights. You need to leave this place. Go back to where you come from. Go back to where you come from. They always talking about forgetting completely that they came from somewhere too, supposedly. They really came from somewhere. Look, when you look at the definition of the Cocatone people, it says these are the Aboriginal indigenous people that was found here. That means we were already here. We didn't come from someplace. We were already here. They came from someplace. It's documented. So we can't, the prophet said, be careful, some of your own will put you back in slavery. And I hate, and it's interesting that some of these charlatans is using some of the prophets' quotes to substantiate their fraud that are moving the people away from family to this new stuff that you just created last night. Look, I'm going to tell you, and this is my position. This is my position on this, okay? If people are gullible enough to fall for that, you need to go with the nation that was started last night by some son somewhere. Because if you don't know by now that the nation is in her womb, and you're going to run behind a son that started something last night talking about it's a nation, you need to run with him. Because he's going to run you right down into the ground. If you don't get it by now, the prophet told you where the nation is on the cover of the 101. And so if you want to run with a son, talking about he started a nation last night, you go right ahead. You need to.
To add on, when we're speaking about the whole concept of the ancient and us being here already, keep in mind that by them making a claim that they're the U.S.A. or whatever they want to phrase it as, and being a republic, in law, they are ancients, right, in law. Because remember, they're following the Pilgrims by claiming that they're republic and all that, but they're Moors, right? So Black's Law Dictionary 111, ancients. In English law, gentlemen of the Inns of Court and Chancery. Now, when we go to ancient in Black's Law Dictionary, old, that which has existed from an indefinitely early period, or which by age alone has acquired certain rights or privileges accorded in view of long continuance. So you can be ancient or ancients. They're being ancients. They're being the European version of us.
Okay.
Which we were talking about in our class, and this is just expounding further on what we talked about in class today. That these are the Moriscos. These are the Moriscos who subjugated, who said, fine, we're going to be down with you guys, but not recognizing the fact that even under subjugation, they still have the rights, as if they were still the sovereigns.
How is that, though? You're saying that they're saying they're ancient under the definition you read of English law, that they're ancient, because they're talking about the modern Europeans.
Exactly.
All right, that's why. Okay, all right, I got you.
No, and then if we bring it to the realm of thought, it's no different than Black Lives Matter pumping up pale people for real. You know, Black Lives Matter is Pale Lives Matter. Just like they're saying U.S, but they're Moors with feathers on or whatever. But they're not really exercising the full will, because really they're ancient and they have nothing to do with any U.S republic anything. But because from the thought perspective, the U.S democracy order of inquisitionists and conquistadors and mercenaries, they now get that energy. Because for them, that's really what it's about, energy. For them, it's not about how much people they kill and murdering people and stuff. That's just to get people running in that direction. What they're really about is energy, especially now. Like we're saying, it's a new age and time. And the time now is that it's really no question what the order of the day is. Because it's obvious that it's either you're stateless or you belong to a nation right now. It's either you're ancient, so you're old, which means you've been acquired certain rights. It's not something that we're just getting just because we say we're Moors in 2000 whatever. The fact that we're saying we're Moors ties us to these ancient rights, which RIGHTS and RITES.
Say that again, RIGH what?
RIGHTS, rights, and RITES, rights.
Okay, yeah, right, and rituals, right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and the importance of studying what Noble Drew Ali brought, because he brought us everything it takes to save a nation.
So
that's a big claim.
Mhm. I'm following that. So they're saying they're the ancients of under the English law, which means they brought their Morisco beings into and under the English law and the U.S.A, which is established for the Englishmen and other foreigners. So that's how they're using that.
That's how they're using that.
Yeah, okay.
Under the guise of they're ancient, when really they're new. They say so themselves that they're new.
Mhm.
Right, which is why I went there, because if they say they're new, then they're not ancient. But what ancient are they referring to if they're making that claim? Well, based on the jurisdiction that they're claiming, they're not talking about old, ancient.
They're not.
They're talking about modern ancient.
The ancients that came into the modern. Oh my goodness. Under a wrong jurisdiction. Mhm.
Under a wrong jurisdiction. On top of all that, under a wrong jurisdiction. That has absolutely nothing to do with them being there.
Mhm.
Or making claims. It's just like with out here with some Moors there, Ottawa doesn't recognize UN declarations or whatever anymore. Well, that should let you know that they're corporate. That should let you know that they're not. Their actions are supposed to be obvious that they're jumping ship. They don't want anything to do with rights or anything like that right now.
All right.
Because they implicate themselves. All this human trafficking and writs and stuff like that being written and all that stuff that they're talking about is paper terrorism is now caught up to them.
It's now caught up to them, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they thought that Moors who writing writs, that's just some paper pushing, clog up the court system that these guys are doing. Oh no, it's not that when you send it to international communities.
That's right. That's right.
It's not that anymore. And again, the fact that Moors have been standing up for the fact that this is a republic is even why so-called sovereign European and people and like that are standing up. There are no foundation of rights out here in the Americas. How's a European the foundation of standing up for rights in America?
Right.
This ain't his ancestral estate. And some people don't want to revoke the visitor's pass. and not only don't they want to revoke the visitor's pass, but they don't want to hold them to the obligation of the Constitution. They want to hold them to the obligation of statute.
Right. Oh, okay. All right. So that's why, Cujo, I saw something. Maybe you saw it too. It says, what does, they're basically saying, what does any of this have to do, in the year 2016? What they're saying is, you're right, you just pinned it. They're like, we're not going to hold them to the law that our ancestors made sure protect us from them. We're going to hold them to statutes. So we're rebuking the law ourselves.
Exactly. So it doesn't fall on the European. It's not their fault now.
It's not their fault now. Oh, my gosh. Wow, you cleared that up real well.
And now they escape karmic debt. And it has to fall on somebody.
Yeah.
So when you
think it's going to fall on the Moors that are rebuking it, don't you?
Well, no. Well, I mean, we know those people are dark priests. They know about, putting Noble Drew Ali's picture inside of or whatever, and then bow to it to open rituals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Moor Science Temple of America Adept Chamber is not some, layman stuff. Like, they really do adept stuff there, the ones that are really adept chambers.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can't say what happened in there outside of the adept chamber.
Mm-hmm. Well,
right?
They're inviting people to become adepts now, I hear, but I guess that's
that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing. They think they become adepts. They started doing that, I guess, after they realized that people are getting the information that the prophet left for them to get without necessarily going through their programs or whatever that they have. So now the new thing is, well, you might be a Moor, but you're not an adept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yet the prophet himself said adepts and sheiks are born, not made. So, yeah.
Still trying to control.
Well, you know what? Our people, they seem to always be trying to acquire some title instead of studying to know the law. Most importantly, to know themselves. Then we can talk about history and the law, but the primary studying that people need to do and know is of self. But it seems as though many are so caught up in wanting to acquire some kind of a title. And the challenge that is missed is that you got, look, in these so-called colleges and universities, they're giving people a piece of paper that says that you have reached a degree, right? Our people have the same mental conditioning where they think that if they get a medallion or a piece of paper or something, that they have attained a degree. A degree is a mental thing. It means that in your mind you have reached a degree. This degree is determined by your words and your deeds. You can't fake that. So you got all these people running around here. They got the agate medallion swinging on their chest, and then they say and do things that contradict it 1,000%. And then just because, you know what I said to, I have a friend, you know, he's very concerned with people thinking he was stupid, but he talks all the time. I said to him, I said, you know, you shouldn't talk a lot because you're telling to the world how little you know. Because, you know, you're letting the people know just how much you don't know. And just because they don't pull your coattail does not mean they don't recognize that you don't know. They just ain't going to tell you. And it's not about, I'm not saying that for people to be concerned with what other people are saying about them. I say that because man's business is supposed to be about reflection. Man's business is supposed to be about know thyself. Too many people is concerned with everyone else. And they are horrible examples themselves. I want people to go out there and declare their nationality, but you act like people don't pay attention to what you walk up and down the street and do or don't do. People are watching you all the time. They are watching to see if your words and your deeds match each other. And it's not that you need to be concerned with what people are seeing, because it's really about you and what you're demonstrating. You cannot be a teacher if you are not practicing what you teach. Follow you and listen to you for a minute, but then they will turn around, they will turn from you because they will recognize, and they will probably say this amongst themselves, and some may be so bold to say it to your face, man, you can't tell me nothing because you don't even follow what you tell me. We're supposed to be walking examples of who we are. There's like a lot of feedback. I'm hearing everything I'm saying repeated.
You know what? I'm going to mute my phone. Do you still hear it? Speak.
All right.
Do you don't hear it? I didn't mute my phone yet.
All right.
I might have been too close to the computer just now, to my laptop.
All righty.
All right.
But you know, we're supposed to be our words, our actions are supposed to match our words. If you're sending a name correction and a proclamation out, if you're saying in any way, shape, or form that you are a Moor people, you might want to go back and study how Moors operated. Because many of us are not operating as Moors. And it's all about how you're dressed, although that's a good help. It's a good identifier. But if you say, look, I'm going to tell you, New York is a great place to go because you see people who practice what they preach. Now, they may not be 100% what they claim to be, but they are certainly practicing it. You see these so-called Jews out there, they are dressing as a so-called Jew. You see them from afar. You know immediately, oh, those are so-called Jews. I hear the feedback again.
I'm going to mute because I don't know.
You see these so-called, what's crazy is that today I see more Asiatic, I see more modern Europeans dressing as Moors. They not only are they dressing as Moors, the way they're eating Moorish food. If you know what Moorish food is, you will not find them doing anything that is not of a Moorish nature. Then you contrast that with the people who are either unconscious Moors or so-called professed Moors, declared Moors, and they're doing the exact opposite. Think that because they do it in secret or by themselves, that it's not telling on you. Not that you need to be concerned with what somebody is saying, but your words is not matching your action. Your proclamation, which is supposed to be your word, is not matching your action. These people look at us as a joke because we don't demonstrate. You got people running around talking about, I want to open a temple. I want to give a class. I want this. I want that. All of that is ego. You ask them, have you written a writ? No. And then you wonder why. And then you got a whole host of Moors asking foreigners, please acknowledge me. Tell me I am who I say I am. No other group of people on planet Earth does this. And then you got the so-called Mr. Know-It-All Moor that can't even acknowledge that he came out of his mother. Then he wants to go out and spread propaganda talking about, well, you know, you got to come in under the club, and unless you're under the club, they won't acknowledge that you're a Moor. What other people on planet Earth does that?
I'm just laughing. And the reason I'm laughing is because I was talking with Liz the other day, and he said, you know, I had to pull out the 101 and say, well, let's see why prophets said we were Moors. Because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. Oh, that's why. Okay. So all that other stuff is side stuff. And, you know, it's like establishing a school or establishing an institution or a temple even to teach you more about, you know, who you are. But it does not mean, he said that himself, so it's like we're not even really thinking. But, you know, it's coming to what it is, and I think, you know, I'm glad that Kutos just cleared up an ancient plural, because, you know, no man can change your descent nature. Only you can declare something or proclaim something other than what it is out of being lack of conscious about it or knowledgeable about it. So, you know, I'm glad he cleared that up because these are, in fact, the Moriscos that are calling themselves that under the wrong jurisdiction on top of which. So, you know, ergo, be careful more. Some of your own may put you back in the slavery type thing. And they're on a campaign right now. They're on a campaign to, as Cujo mentioned, to support statutes. Now, the only person that would do that is someone who doesn't know what a statute is and someone who doesn't know the difference between the statute and the law. And so that campaign to support the statutes and keep these modern Europeans violating you, because that's what they're doing. Because, you know, like if I was them and I was at the drawing board of what's happening, and I'm like, shoot, these Moors are letting us, they're supporting our little statutes that isn't even law. Yeah, let's pull them in. And then later on say, okay, let's put this out there. And before you know it, you won't even be able to or do anything at all whatsoever that deals with freedoms, that deals with love, that deals with truth, that deals with peace. So clearly, that's their campaign against those 5 principles that we are hailed from. And then what will happen is, since they're on a campaign against that, then of course, if the Moriscos are on a campaign to support them in that, then of course that campaign also comes with slandering those who are not on that campaign, because they know they got enough Moors that don't know and that are willing to support them, that they figure, well, the new ones coming in teach them this or whatever like that, and so they can just build up. And this is not understanding national principles. And here's the deal: it ain't no real big deal. People think it's a real big deal, right? Because we're identifying these types of activities and these types of people and the psychology of it and the effects of it, because it doesn't matter now. This is the day of reckoning for everyone anyway. So if you find yourself on that side of it, fine. Like you said earlier, you know what? Go ahead and be there, because these love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is always in effect at all times anyway. So, wherever people find themselves, like the prophet said, they're going to find themselves where they can solve their problems best. So if that's the route they're going to take during these very serious times and these days and times, then, they'll find themselves where they can solve their problems best. And so if, for instance, if these are Moriscos and this is what they want to do, why don't they just go do that and leave everybody else alone to do what they want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yep.
Because they can't be standing they can't be standing on solid ground at all, or else they wouldn't even be able to be bought out, sold out, or be a sellout, or anything like that. They would be very confident about who they are and continue to be who they are and let other people be who they are. But for some reason, you got to look at it. If this is where they're saying they are, why are you going to mess with people who are doing what they do and making their declaration proclamation for who they are? Why can't you just leave that alone? Because if that grows, then this fake system will die, and it's dying. And these Moriscos are actually going to bring it back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all clear. That's who they are. Anyway, we might want to move on and see if there's any callers that have any questions.
Yes.
Oh, but before
go
ahead. Before you do that, though, we want everybody to know that there is class live in the flesh at National Theater at Harlem, 125th and 5th. Abdullah Bey will be the instructor, and he also has completed, printed, and ready for sale the book that he has promised everyone that he was working on, called Moors and Masonry. And I had a short conversation with him about it earlier, and, he said what's in this book is what the people need to know. It's the stuff that Moors always knew. Always knew this, and that, secret societies and things of sort, which, by the way, the prophet said, I am taking the covers off of all secret societies, of which he did and did very well if you really study his work. Well, he said this is the information that we as Moors always knew. In fact, we taught them this. So he broke it down, and I don't have my copy, but he has one reserved for me, so I'm glad of that. And he broke it down, and this is the stuff you need to know. So remember that you are to learn by signs and symbols. And I did a little article on the site on that, too. We don't even know the signs and symbols so that we can learn. So I trust this book that he has, which will be available, is available, and will be at the class tomorrow at Harlem, will help, to clear that up and move on. And maybe we'll stop doing the clubism thing, because all they're doing in the clubs is teaching through sign symbols and rituals and stuff that which Moors always knew and passed on. Islam.
All right, Islam.
What you say, Cujo?
No, I was just gonna add on to that. You know,
all right.
Don't look at, you know, because of the infiltration and all that, the temple. It has nothing to do with the temple.
That's right.
It's not the temple. Leave the temple out of it. You know what I mean? Just like when you say, when the black people come with their America did something to them. Leave America out of it. Continents don't hurt people. You know what I mean? More science temples don't infiltrate themselves.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Recognize that there's been a influx of people that have come into the Moorish movement to cause confusion, to have people not know the things that Moors always knew.
That's right.
They want to stop people from knowing the things that were common knowledge to Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is why the temple was created, to teach you these things that were these common things.
Mhm.
You know, going back to why temples have to have schools and all that. And if there's no schools, then you know what's up. And it's nothing personal. That's just 1 and 1 equals 2.
Yes.
So don't look at it like, you know, it's just that people are so in hiding that we have to say more Science Temple.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, people are in hiding. They have people that they're sending out to talk on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, because a certain group of individuals came out of lodges, came out of churches to join the Moorish movement. Confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret. That's why people could leave this and go be Christian ministers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because this is the true lodge. They're getting all their stuff and then they leave and go. Instead of be Moors, they go be some DS.
Yes.
And not even bring up the fact that, actually, Moorish Science Temple of America put me on to being the black guy that I am right now.
That's violating first principle, Cujo. You are not Negro, colored, or black.
Right? which again lets you know 1 and 1 equals 2. Oh, you're gonna keep pushing that black stuff? All right, so we already know what side you're on. You're making
Cujo,
it known.
I found out there's a whole lot of people that actually did in fact come out of the teachings and are declared Moors, because to themselves, but they don't tell nobody, and they talking about they're talking black stuff. That's what you're talking about. They're talking all the black stuff, pushing all the black stuff, and then you find out, in these days and times, you find out that they are Moors and proclaim Moors. They either came out of the temple, like you said, or they did the studies. They proclaim to be a Moor, and then they walking around here doing the black stuff, man. What's up with that?
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the thing of the Moriscos. If they be Moors, then, it's an uphill battle when you say that you're Moors in 2016. Don't think that there's going to be some black cakewalk.
Some black cakewalk.
Like, this is uphill.
Yes, indeed.
Every day, all day. This is what it is. It's just uphill. Even when we're coasting, it's uphill.
Mm-hmm.
Even when stuff's going right.
Still uphill. You're right. That's the truth. Yes, indeed.
All right.
And one more other thing too. When we said when we use the oral statements of be careful. Some of your own Moors are going to put you in slavery. Some of your own Moors are putting you in slavery. It's not something that's going to happen. They're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So that's a prophecy manifested.
Yes.
That's a validation of his prophethood.
Yes. Good
Before
point.
they started selling people out, he told people they're going to come and start selling you out. Okay, well, we're here now in 2016 talking about how much people sold out the Moorish movement. That's prophecy manifested.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That's very important. Not going to, but are. And they want it heavy, too. They want it hard, man.
Join their club.
Yes.
As soon as you join the club, you're done for. Take it from me. Trust me. You don't want to join the clubs. Trust me.
You said you don't want to join the club.
You don't. Don't join the club.
Don't join the club. That's what. And you know what?
What they offer you.
You're right. Because then it goes to the mysteries, or what some call the red book inside. And chapter 8, where it says, hey, listen, it's time for you to make priests of yourself. You better get on the stick and stop. Yeah, that's where it is.
Exactly.
All
and
right,
again,
we got to Rahim here.
Oh, my bad. Kujo was saying something else. Go ahead, Kujo.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying that we're not saying be priest unto yourself so you can say that you're the president and create something new.
Thank you for adding that on. Yeah.
Put that up there,
yeah. I mean, you got to know your way. Islam.
All right. Are you there?
Oh.
All right.
Wait a minute. Is that Man's voice?
Yep,
Yes,
I'm right here. Peace and love, fam. It's really good. Man, it was a crazy day, but I'm glad I was able to chime in and add on. My percentage and battery life is looking real low right now. But I just want to say, I appreciate you all. This was a great conversation I've been listening to, and it's like I'm listening to my own consciousness, and that's how that's just how it is. I expect that from you all, period. But I just, it was crazy because I know this is the last broadcast of the 2016 time block, not of, last broadcast. I'm just talking about the time block and everything you all were talking about. As it started off as a Freestyle Tuesday, but, it's been a very consistent subject matter. And these were thoughts that I had on my mind to actually share with the family because when we talk about the Moriscos who, are trying to downplay, the national Moors who are moving in a national fashion, divine and national fashion, one of the things that you hear them say, because, I'm sure everybody on this line right now, has received the lesson that law and history go together, right?
Yeah.
And, that's just an absolute fact. Big acknowledgement to the first arguing denial of your ancestry because there's a lot of references in there that people should follow up on as far as checking out the references. Specifically, the works of J.A. Rogers. Like, that's, like, all of this is foundational in the aspect, even though, like, and don't get me wrong, I know for a fact we're not Negro, black, and colored, but there's a lot of information that you can refine from that literature. And I say that because one of the things that I hear that just sounds crazy, they be like, oh, these Moors with the right to travel, they got that from some sovereign citizens in the 70s, right? And I'm not sure. I know this could be elaborated on further, but even with the brother Yasin Bey, they try to, downplay him for having a world passport, etc. All of these things. And what you see that the Inquisition gang does, and when I say that, I mean those who are sitting in the seats of so-called courts and things like that, writing these malicious opinions and all of these things, what they try to do is separate the people from the history. So what they'll do is try to tie in like, oh, well, you know, we seen some Europeans, I forgot the European dude's name, they say started the concept of world citizenship and things like that. But again, you know, when you know history and law, you can see that, and I say this because Pujo said something earlier as well about them talking about the modern ancients, and that sounds crazy, right? Modern ancients. But there's a book also called Ancient and Modern Britons. But I was looking at this thing too, you know, when they're considering modern history as the inception of what they see today, do not give props where it's due. Meaning that, all right, so they say some Europeans started this concept of being, you know, a part of the whole world. But we need to know history to understand where we at with the law aspect today in certain aspects. And I say that because in the book, J. Rogers, Nature Knows No Color Line, it's a foreword. Before you get into the book, for real, it's a foreword. And on page 4 of the foreword, it's talking about Socrates. And we know that if we look back in history, there's been many, you know, indicators and different people who brought up the point that, you know, Socrates had Moorish lineage. They say African lineage, etc., but those are all Moors. You know what I mean? So I say that because this concept of being a part of the entire globe still on the E correlating to what you were saying about it's not where you was born at, it's about the mother's, where, you know, who the mother is. So, you know, what her nationality is, what her bloodline is, regardless of what. So I just wanted to point this out that in the book, Nature Knows No Color Line, it says in the foreword, page 4 of the foreword, it says Socrates of the 5th century BC. So, mind you, the timeline is 5 centuries BC, okay? So, this is before, you know, however they want to flip the AD, you know, sometimes people look at it as after the death of Christ. Those who know law know that they say Anno Domini, or the year of domination, you know, for the AD. And, you know, that goes from when they came into Alexandria all the way up to 1492 and so on, etc. But the timeline of what this is talking about is BC, before the conquering, before Christianity, before all of these things. Socrates of the 5th century BC said, I am not a Greek or an Athenian, but a citizen of the whole world. And the reason I point that out is because they act like that concept started in the 70s with some modern Europeans trying to create world passports. When no, these were people who were studying what? Philosophy, or the love of wisdom. Thus were studying philosophers. No different than Noble Drew Ali was a philosopher. He was a prophet, but he had a philosophy or a love of wisdom. That's what it was. That's why he said I'm a universal prophet, and my philosophy will be universal. So, you know, we can't leave that. You know, philosophy and theory are not the same thing, because a lot of people have that misconception. So the love of wisdom that they were talking about, this was BC. That didn't start in the 70s. And I just wanted to make that point very clear, that these people were studying your ancestors in the 70s and in endeavor to manifest that. So it all goes back to the point of this: study, study, study. Law and history go together. Whenever you see the Europeans speaking directly against something, that's something you really want to pull a veil off of and see what is the mask that they're trying to put over things, because they don't want you to look at this history. I was in the store the other day delivering, sending out some mail, and it was I would say a mulatto sister. Like she's very light olive, you know, something like the sister Charlotte Sophia on the cover of Nature Knows No Color Line. But her Asiatic features are undeniable. She's just very light skinned, from her body build to her facial structure, eyes, everything. You can see the Asiatic bloodline in her. But she has a self-hatred that reflected onto me. You know what I'm saying? Going back to what Cujo was saying about, you know, this is like an uphill battle, the perception, the stigma, all of these things is for real out here right now, you know, and we do have obligation to, you know, mock that, and that's what it is. But so I'm sending out the mail, and she sees the Moorish appellation on there, right? So she sees L's, she sees Bays, et cetera, but she playing dumb. She's trying to pick my brain, so she's like, she said something. She was like, what's that group that starts with an M again? I forgot. You know what I mean? She playing dumb. Like, she don't know. She knew what it was. But she like, yeah, I know she's trying to have a conversation, but in a degrading way. Because for whatever reason, I know she knew that I was a Moor. You know what I mean? And mind you, this is a light olive mulatto type. You know what I mean? And she goes on to say, yeah, she used to work in a jail, and you know, her perception or her disdain for Moors came from working in the jail. That's what she said, because it was this one Moor who did everything by himself. He didn't want no help. He didn't want none of that. He would write his own paperwork. He didn't want no social worker, none of that. And I'm like, damn. But if that's your reason to have disdain on Moors, it's clearly because you're not studied. Or, it is no or to that. Just acquiesce, or in the essence, there's been an acquiescence to the pilgrim psychology, the design of the pilgrim for, you know, the propaganda, the negative spells that have been cast for different people to perceive Moors a certain way. And it's sad because her perspective was that Moors is a religion. She wasn't even looking at Moors as a nationality. She's just like, yeah, that religious group, Moors, yeah, they're crazy. But she worked for the jail, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I see how y'all see us. But y'all out here in the world just in subtle positions. You know what I mean? So Moors, just be careful. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to add that on to the bill for the family, because, you know, law and history do go together. That concept of being a part of the world community did not start in the 70s, all right? They were studying Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses and all of that. So keep in mind, all of this goes back to Moors, and that's what I wanted to add on and share with the family tonight. Peace and love. Islam.
Islam.
So that should kill that. I said that should kill that noise. With the Morisco campaign talking about, you know, we're getting it. Moors that are truly conscious and active are getting their stuff from modern Europeans. Modern Europeans got everything from us. They don't know the history. I'm telling you, to Morisco. All right, moving right along. So I'm saying that should kill that noise of that piece of so-called slander, because it was brought to my attention today that a lot of the slanderous stuff, like people, like they'll say, oh, that's not what the prophet brought. But they won't say, well, what did the prophet bring then? You know, they're not countering their so-called slander. They're not proving anything. They're just talking. They're just talking and saying stuff. They're not supporting even what they say, other than what Cujo said. They're supporting the statutes that are not law. So that's the true campaign, is to get the people who are coming in that don't know. That's why the prophet said, you better study. I ain't tell you everything. You better study and show yourself approved. So those who didn't listen to that then and didn't listen to Anna E. saying it for like however long you've been saying it, and we all been saying it, well, guess what? You better do it now, or you're going to find yourself in a place that you really don't want to be. However, that place will be where you will solve your problems best. Islam.
Islam. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open the phone lines. If you have a question, a comment, something you would like to put on the table for this Freestyle Tuesday, press 1 on your telephone dial, and you will be placed in the queue. We will take the calls in the order that we receive them, and that is that. Our first caller is caller 862-218. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maximum. Islam, caller 862-218. All righty. Caller 860-478. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maximum. All righty. They are doing some construction work. All right.
That's what it sounds like.
It sounds like, well, they were building something. Caller 443-769. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maximum.
Islam. I am Hassan Ghazi Obey at Northwestern Maximum. How's the family?
Islam, Ghazi, we're fine. How are you?
I'm fine. All is well. It's just excellent broadcast. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening, family.
No, I was just saying Islam.
Islam, beloved. Islam. What'd you say? Beloved?
No, I was just on mute. I was saying Islam, and I was like, ain't nobody hearing me.
Nah, indeed. Nah, it's all good. As always, I'm gonna keep it brief. Excellent clash to me as always in broadcast for the family. I just wanted to say, Mother Roz and Mother Anna E, like you guys always do it for me every time. Cujo and Mitch, y'all was definitely on fire as well. But the one thing I definitely wanted to kind of point out everything that was said, and then I yield the floor. Mother Anna E is so right about that time that it comes like, you do so much talking and you're so pumped about the information, and after a while it's just like, it's something that happens. I can't really explain it, but it's something that clicks in your mind. It's just like you actually see that the silence, as it is in Black's Law Dictionary, I'm paraphrasing but off of memory. It's like, basically having the knowledge of like having knowledge and also having the ability to use it, but you're not really using it as far as using it positively. I'm just paraphrasing on silence, and it really is a jewel in that. So I'm just going to say to the family again, Mother Roz, Mother Anna E, Brother Cujo, Brother Miz, just thank y'all so much. Keep doing what y'all doing. Y'all know I'm always listening, always watching, even if I'm not always pressing one or always saying something in the what is that, the rooms, the comment rooms. But I'm definitely studying. And I did notice, like, the more you actually study and the less you talk, like, you do actually, like, grasp a whole lot more. So I just wanted to thank you for that again, Mother Anna E. And with that, I yield the floor. Islam, peace and love.
All right, peace and love.
Islam, what he just said is what the prophet said. I came to teach you to be yourself. And, we can only be what we know. So when you're being yourself, as we've said before, that emanates right off of you. Like you had said earlier, you just be. What you are is what you are, and that light is there or not. So you don't have to do a lot of talking, because really everything has already kind of been said. It's just I think people taking up their position, but if they're not steady to show themselves approved, hey, just like you can tell through like what he's saying about silence, silence also, when you have a duty to speak, it can be considered fraud because you didn't, because you had mentioned before that all of these, whatever kind, whether they're administering a federal program or whatever they're doing, they have the duty to tell the people who they are and what is what and what is not what. So they're fraud by being silent in that. So for silence is considered as can be a charge for some people who's in a position that should be speaking. Like you should never be able to go into what is supposed to be a court, and they sit there. What more do we need? And they won't tell you anything. They're sitting there because they're really not a court, and they take an absolute total advantage. And then you got these Marist schools talking about, yeah, go support that. It's crazy. So they should be charged with the same thing, fraud. Islam.
All right. Islam. See, our next caller, let's see, my next caller is my computer is acting up. Caller 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. Caller 972-839.
Islam, can you hear me?
Oh, Islam.
Islam, this is Abdul Malik Shakur Bey. I'm calling from Northwest Mexico, the Texas Territorial Republic. Once again, family, it is my pleasure to hear from the scholars that Allah has bestowed upon them the knowledge to teach the people, because they are not only saying words, but they are saying words of wisdom through study, and hard and long research of ours. It is critical that we recognize and understand how extremely important it is for us, Moors, who have studied, and most of all studied ourselves, and know without a doubt who our foremothers and our forefathers were and are, which we are today. Unconscious, but let me get to the conscious more, live and put in motion with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And most of all, it is extremely important for us Moors who teach true part in the education of our children and the re-education of the so-called Negro. Every time I hear it, it makes me think about misery, Pharaoh's army, the miseducation of the Negro. If we simply continue as we have always allowing someone else of another culture to identify who we are as a people, nothing without doubt will change for the better. And the last but not least, Noble Ali set up the temple to teach our people that we are not Negroes, colored, black, nor African American, etc. And we are not 14th Amendment citizens. They kept back the 20 sections, read about it, that pertain to us. You more. The Constitution is lawful proof to keep the U.S.A. Corporation natural citizens in check. We the people of the North Gate, Al Morocco, Maghreb, Al Aqsa, Al Mexico, the North Gate. The Europeans are the natural citizens, and we must follow all laws, and they must all the laws of our empire. You are what your foremothers and your forefathers are, who they were, is who we are today, Moors. Islam, keep doing what you're doing, keep reading, keep studying, and most of all, keep teaching Islamism.
Islam.
Moors.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. All right, caller 770-334. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation and Northwest Selection.
Good evening, family. Hi, my name is Edna L. My appellation is Edna L., Northwest Maximum, Georgia Territory. How's everybody tonight? Good show?
It's fine.
Well,
okay.
all is fine.
I'm calling. I reached out to the family about 6 months ago. I shared with you that my son had recently died a year ago after he filed an appeal with a foreclosure that he was dealing with. And he died 3 months later after he had filed the appeal. Do you recall the conversation? And I know that I had a couple of questions because when I picked up the torch after my son had transitioned, I began studying Moorish nationality. I have proclaimed my nationality, as you see, and I have a couple of questions because now what I'm up against is that they have foreclosed. They have ordered an eviction on me, and I did file an appeal on that. And in filing the appeal, they're saying that I have no standing, which I am in disagreement with because to my studying, I do have standings, and I do have jurisdiction over this land where the house is located. But this is my question. When my son filed the appeal, he filed the appeal because he had, or should I say, he found that there was fraud. They're coming back now saying to me after the case was closed by a judge order that it was closed with prejudice. I tried to get the case reopened again, but it was not, the judge did not reopen the case. Now the attorneys are coming back to me and they're saying that the reason why I can't present this suit is because of res judicata. I'm presenting the same claim that he presented initially. But when I looked through all his paperwork, the mortgage company came back and he asked for the separation of the promissory note and to see the original copy of the promissory note and the deed, and they needed more time to give that. What's bothering me is that they would not open the case, but they did close the case 6 months after he had transitioned. I do believe that I have a fight. I do believe that I can present the same information that he presented because he never had his day in court. I have the securitization. I have the writ of discovery. I've sent that information up along with the I'm sorry, a little nervous as I'm speaking. Reconveyance letter, the letter of default. The mortgage company never responded to anything that I sent to them. So for the res judicata, even though the information I presented to them.
I just want to ask something real quick. Did they respond to anything that your son sent them?
Yes, they did. They responded to most of everything that he sent in a very disrespectful manner.
No. It doesn't matter whether they were respectful or disrespectful. Did he send in a writ of discovery, and did they give him what he asked for?
He did. I didn't find a writ of discovery in his paperwork. I don't think that he was studied up to the point where he was, and this is just my thought, because there was not a writ of discovery in the paperwork that he had. I did the writ of discovery. I filed the writ of discovery. I've also provided information to them as to who I was, and I was taking this on. They ignored everything that I've said. They've ignored everything that I've sent them, and I have verification of everything that I sent them and asked them to provide this information. Now, what they did was they tried to have my case dismissed, and they quoted Georgia law. The judge read that, and the judge basically said that I would have my day in court. I would have a hearing because all they quoted was just the state law. In having my hearing, which will take place in another couple of weeks, they're still trying to get this case dismissed. I received paperwork today, and they compiled all this information as to why I did not have standing. I did not have standing for the eviction, to stop the eviction, because the securitization report was showing how they were in violation of TILA, et cetera, et cetera. They said that my son had what is called in their report a residential mortgage transaction. Never heard of that, don't know what that is, and when I looked that up, it had nothing to do with the promissory note and the deed. He still had a promissory note and a deed. There was a contract that was signed. It was separated. When I had the securitization done for the house after my son's transition, it gave a history of how the separation took place. They're trying to ignore that, and they're still trying to get the case closed. So I guess by providing that information, my question is, and I was reading the Constitution, and I was trying to find out where my standing was in that.
Let me ask you this. Your standing is that that's family. So that's
right. Okay.
Really,
I know the house.
You would have been the heir. But let me ask you this. What?
Now I will be at the appellate court. My hearing will take place at the appellate court.
What kind of appellate court? That sounds like a state court.
Well, it's moving to the district court, the Northern District of Georgia.
Okay, that ought to be like a federal jurisdiction, but it sounds like you're in a state court.
Okay. Well, let me backtrack because you are correct.
Even a municipal court, because see, a lot of times what they try to do is they try to get things moved into a county, a municipal corporation venue, and they will run over you. They will run over you. They will not listen to you because you're dealing with a corporation. You're not even in any type of a semblance of a lawful court.
Okay. And I do understand that.
All right. So great.
Well,
do you know what kind of a court you're in?
Well, let's back up a little bit. When the eviction took place, I was in the lower court, the Article 1 court. I filed an appeal.
No. I don't know what an Article 1 court is. I just know that if it's a municipal corporation, you're not even in a court. That's a ministerial hearing officer.
Right. Where the hearing is going to take place is in the federal court, the United States District Court of Georgia.
Is that where it started?
That's not where it started, but when I filed the appeal, I had it moved to the district court.
All right.
They're trying to stop it from being heard at the district court by giving all of these reasons as to why I don't have standing. The securitization report that I have is null and void. They're trying to provide all this information, but everything that they're saying, I can support it and back it up with something totally different. But my reason today for the hearing has to do with the foreclosure and also the eviction. I'm telling the courts that they were in violation. They did a wrongful foreclosure on the house. They did a wrongful eviction. The lawsuit of the securitization and the separation of the promissory note and the deed, I will deal with at a later date. Right now, I'm trying to get the case looked at for the wrongful foreclosure and the eviction. they're coming back and they're saying to me that I don't have standings because the TILA, the REMIC, that is all a part of the foreclosure and the eviction, is because this property is a residential mortgage. It should have been addressed the year after he purchased the home, as of what I'm reading in the documents. None of this makes sense, what they're saying. But this is what they're standing on as to why they're trying to get this case dismissed. Now, when they initially and they sent the paperwork in, it was a judge that sent back saying that she was not going to dismiss this case because I had my right of due process in court. So it moved over to the federal court. So my motion was granted when I sent it over to the federal court asking for this case to be heard by jury trial. Now they're coming back and they're saying that because of the duplication of what my son had submitted before he had transitioned and what I'm submitting right now is the same case. And those cases that he had submitted was closed. And it was closed with prejudice. But what I don't understand is that when I notified them that I was going to move forward with what he had already started, I heard absolutely nothing. And then 6 months later, what I got was notification of a foreclosure, but nothing that I would be able to move forward in taking on what he had started. Because at that time, I would have been able to present the writ of discovery. Well,
I just got a question. When you said they came back and said that it's the same thing that your son did, who are you speaking of when you say they? The federal or the lower courts that you were dealing with? The lower
the mortgage company. They're the ones that's saying. The judge has not.
Well, the court has not said anything yet.
Okay. Well, I was trying to give you a history of what I'm looking at right now. So I guess when I'm reading this and want to get a better understanding as to what my rights are when they're saying that this is a duplication, it's only a duplication because it was never heard.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Isn't this where you're appealing it or moving it to a federal court? So it would be the same situation. So I guess, and they're just saying anything. They're just saying stupid stuff at this point, running around.
Well,
like they
the thing. You have to, well, as you know, Freehan, that you're dealing with criminals. I'm just telling you. The so-called mortgage company, the bank, the attorneys, all criminals, all of them criminals. So they're just things to think about. What was the basis for them marking the case with prejudice? Because that can be reversed.
Well, yeah.
And if they never answered any of the questions, then sounds like some questions were asked, and I'm just, you know, and they're saying, well, we're gonna deny this motion, which was questioned with prejudice, which means you can't come back and ask the question again. But if the questions are relevant to the issue at hand and they're questions, you can't mark that with prejudice. And from, you know, what venue is that coming from?
That's coming from the district court, and it was the judge that marked it that she was closing this case with prejudice.
So wait a minute. So, okay. So
in other words, we filed this appeal.
The case that you removed to the district court has already been decided, and they marked and they closed it with prejudice?
No. When Charles filed his appeal when Mustafa filed his appeal in June, I notified them of Charles's transition. 6 months later, waiting to hear back from someone, letting them know that I was moving forward. I was going to finish what he had started. When I heard back from the courts 6 months later, they said that they were waiting, something in reference to waiting for me to step up to the plate. And I have all the documents as to they reached out to the family. No one responded. So they were closing this case with prejudice. When they closed it with prejudice, now the foreclosure is taking place. So I'm dealing with the foreclosure. I come back 3-4 months later, once that has taken care of, and I requested that the judge reopen the case, given the reasons as to why I was unable to address the situation at that particular time. She responded back that she was not going to reopen the case. The case was closed. Now the attorney with the mortgage company is coming back saying that what I'm filing in court is the same information that my son filed. Therefore, it can't be heard because it's a duplication of the same thing.
If you're in a district court and you don't like the answer, you can appeal that.
Well, yeah, and take it further, which is correct.
So I would just appeal it.
Yeah. And take it further. Okay.
Because if you're in a district court, the only place you can appeal it to is the Supreme Court of the United States.
Okay. That was my thoughts exactly, confirmation of that, and I thank you so much for that because I believe. I'm
saying because it sounds like what they're saying, okay, they put these issues, your son put these issues in. I don't know what the issues are. But your son put, your son put some issues in. Sounds like they were never addressed. And because he passed form, it sounds like 6 months went by. There was no activity on your part for whatever reason. And so they closed it. Now, because see, that's their out. Why they would close it with prejudice, I don't know. That don't make sense. Because unless they're saying, well, they're going to close it with prejudice because he's deceased and we don't want I don't know. I can't even speculate on why, if he's deceased, why would it be closed with prejudice?
I think that they closed it with prejudice because I notified them that I was ready to move forward. I notified the mortgage company by sending them my affidavit of fact of who I was and that I was going to proceed on with them. I heard nothing from them or the courts in reference to that. And I do believe that this is just my belief, that because there is now somebody that's ready to take this on, they got this case dismissed with prejudice. That's just my belief because I came to the same conclusion as you. Why would you close it with prejudice?
They would have to, you could ask them to substantiate that decision. They actually, if they're closed, whenever they make a decision, they have to give you their rationale for making that decision. There has to be a rationale. Now, in the county, in the municipal venue, they don't give you nothing. This is what he's going to do. But it's been my experience that in a semblance of a state court and a federal court, they always give an explanation.
Well, the explanation.
Go ahead. What was the
explanation they provided? I'm sorry.
No,
the explanation they provided was that no one came forward to take this case on. I did come forward. I have the certification of
that would justify them closing it, but not marking it with prejudice.
Right.
That's something else. I can understand because I have I have a friend who was trying to bring some issue into a state or actually state venue court, and every time he was supposed to respond, because he was so busy working, he never responded. And so they closed the case. But they didn't mark it with prejudice. That doesn't make sense.
I do agree. I can only come to the conclusion that my son's case against him held merit, and they knew it.
Oh.
And that's why they were trying to close it.
There are more, and you bring a case against any one of these European establishments or foreigners, or I should say foreign establishments, or their employees, rather, I should say, you're going to have merit because they're on American soil profiting, and they think that they could just take the birthright of the Aboriginal indigenous people and get away with it. And yeah, they've been doing that for years. But I know that even though they've been doing this for years, there have been Moors who did the proper studying, and they did bring a claim, and they did receive a favorable reply. It may not have been immediate, but they did. I believe they did receive a reply. But hold on. Let me just chime in, Sister Jayana, because she just texted me that she wanted to say something. Sister Jayana, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, I want to. Islam, everybody. But I wanted to add something before she got off the line, because she said she moved it to the federal court, correct? Okay.
Yes,
you wrote it in there, and the judge in the federal court says you had the right to be heard, correct?
That is correct.
And then the attorneys for the mortgage company, they objected to it, saying that they want you to do whatever. Now, how long ago was that?
This all took place within the last 2-3 months. This back and forth.
When you put in your appeal, and then they granted your motion, right? And so, did they give you a date that you were going to go in?
Yeah, I have the hearing in about 2 weeks.
Oh, so they gave you the hearing already? Okay. They objected to,
I will have the hearing in 2 weeks.
But they gave you the date. Yeah, I'm saying they gave you the date already. I'm sorry. So when they objected to it, saying that she can't bring this in because it's the same thing her son was saying, did you rebut that?
Well, I rebutted everything that they did. Now, understand that when I filed for the appeal, and I filed the motion for the appeal and have it to be removed to the district court, the attorneys responded back they filed a motion for it to be dismissed. And when they filed the motion for it to be dismissed, that's when the magistrate judge looked at the paperwork, and also with the district judge, and said that you quoted everything in here basically under state law. And because you quoted everything under state law, she is protected because of $75,000 the case, the claim that's being presented. She will have her day in court. She has a right to due process in court. So now that has taken place, they have now filed another motion to have this case dismissed. Now, initially, when they filed it to be dismissed, it was just due to the foreclosure and the eviction. Now they have filed a motion to dismiss, and now they've included the securitization. They included the foreclosure, the eviction, the TILA.
That's all right. Okay, so in 2 weeks you go to court, correct? When you go there, what do you have anything to present to counter what they're saying?
Well, yeah, everything that they're counting what they're saying. And
I'm just asking. You don't have to explain it. I'm just asking. Do you have everything? Because you want to have that in like note cards. And then second, the main thing from me listening in from what you're saying, the main thing you need to fight is when your son did it, He didn't never put in a writ of discovery. When you came back and did it, you put in a writ of discovery, and they never answered to it. So you're not presenting the same thing. Remember that. You're not presenting the same thing. Second, the same thing Annie said. They never presented anything on why would they dismiss it with prejudice or whatever. They never gave no valid reason for that. So you make sure you put that as a point as well, because that's something. Okay. Because if you have everything responded with your son, but you don't have anything from them responding back to you, but you responded back to them, but they never responded back to anything you asked them for. So that right there is a claim within itself. They have to answer. Okay. They can't just move forward without answering the discovery.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So make sure you present that. And just because I'm hearing your voice, don't get caught up in what the attorney people are saying. They're nobody. They're going to say shit all day. Excuse my language. They're going to keep writing. They're going to write forever because they're going to try to confuse you. But stick to whatever it is. Stick to the same topic. Don't even go whatever. They're going to go outside the line. They're going to talk about this and that. They ain't got nothing to do. Like you said, you looked it up, and it had nothing to do with nothing. So stick to what you standing on, and don't move outside of it. It don't matter if they switch the subject. Stick to the same subject. It's just like going to court for jurisdiction. They'll talk. You say delegation of authority, and they talking about we trying to fine you for something. Don't even answer to it. First of all, they have to stick to the discovery. They ain't never answered to the discovery.
Right.
Right. So stick to what you coming with, and forget about what they coming with, because what they coming with is BS. They just want to confuse you and have you running around and doing research on something that ain't got nothing to do with the case at all. Stick to what you coming with.
Okay.
Don't wear it, because if the federal granted your motion, that's all you need. You got a hearing date. That's it, and that's all. Them writing you, so what? They're gonna be writing stuff. Let them write. Whatever. Because they're just trying to scare you. Because you already got the date in court, and that's all you need.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, let you know with that. Because if they gave you a date, that's beautiful. Because some people ain't even getting dates. So take that and run with it and stick on what you presented in the beginning, and that's the whole reason why your motion was granted. Because you presented something that he did not bring. He didn't bring the discovery, correct? When your son did it, he didn't do the discovery, right?
That is correct. I didn't find it in this paperwork. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So there you go. So you ain't presenting the same thing he coming with. Because he never asked for the discovery. That's the initial thing that he should have asked for. And now you asking for it. Now they're trying to dismiss it.
Yeah, he didn't have the discovery or the securitization. He did not have the forensic audit. And all those things I did have, and I did present that.
That's right. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And, yeah, Islam. Peace, sir.
Islam. Peace. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, family. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
All right. You too.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it's like they start backpedaling, and even, too, they start saying all kinds of things, the independent. They say all kinds of things to throw you off. They'll say anything.
Well, they absolutely will. And you know what? And that's why, I take my fans off to the sister because let me tell you, going into these courts, it's really interesting. I'm saying courts. I ain't talking about these ministerial hearing officers, okay, that's run by the municipal corporation. I'm not talking about that. That is a complete and utter waste of time. Now, I'm not saying that if your calls don't go. That is not what I'm saying. But people have to recognize that every atrocity that is put on the Aboriginal Indigenous people is sponsored under the venue of the municipal corporation. And the only way that you're going to get some kind of remedy constitutionally if you bring a civil suit, because a civil suit creates a public record. And I truly believe that as Moors, we are not getting the remedy because these employees of these municipal corporations, everything that they do is based on the receipt of federal funding through the state. And they substantiate that federal funding with fraudulent documents.
Mm-hmm.
All right? They substantiate it with fraudulent documents. These documents are believed because we never bring civil suits against these employees of these municipal corporations. So it appears as though we are in agreement with whatever is going down, whether it's a violation of your right to travel, or as serious as the murdering of a being. And it sounds crazy. It sounds like it shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be. But it is up to us to enforce that Constitution. And if you got some more out there talking about, well, this is a business transaction, and you got to go in there and you got to talk business with them, that's freaking crazy. My birthright is not for sale. Unalienable, inalienable liberties is not for sale, and it damn sure enough ain't no business transaction. All right? And it can't be. If it's an unalienable and an inalienable liberty, it cannot be a business transaction. And so that means that we have to bring civil suits against these employees of these various municipal corporations. If we do not do that in the public arena, it looks as though you're in agreement because there's no civil suit. These are constitutional violations, and there isn't a civil suit in a federal court anywhere. These federal courts should be so inundated that the Secretary of Transportation, United States Secretary of Transportation, calls all these people on the carpet for all the fraudulent documents they're submitting to substantiate their theft.
Can you explain that about
misappropriation of funds?
Can you explain what you mean by that these are federal programs that the states are participating in as contractors, and they're contracting it to the municipalities for the most part, and that they are sending in fraudulent documents to the feds, the federal, they're reading these fraudulent documents that said this, and this, and that you did this or whatever bullcrap with fake numbers. Can you explain that to people understand that unless...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime any of the people is issued a citation, and there's a whole procedure around how these citations are supposed to be handled, why they are to be issued, and what is supposed to happen. Because all of this stuff that is going on is not supposed to be going on. The whole purpose of the motor vehicle program is to make sure that the people are safe. And it is not supposed to shut down businesses. So that means that if I'm a taxi driver or a bus driver or a subway driver or a train driver or an airplane driver, then if I take a drink of alcohol and it comes to my someone's attention, I'm supposed to be taken off post for 24 hours to ensure that the public is safe. It's supposed to be all about making sure that not just the public employee and the worker and the employer/employee, because they're one and the same. Employer-employee is one and the same. If you're working up a sweat, you're a worker. If you're expounding mental energy for you're a worker. That's energy. All right? So you're never an employee. You're always a worker. All of these corporations are employees receiving federal dollars. And so when they give you one of these citations, they have to substantiate the citation. They have to substantiate why they issued the citation. If it results in the suspension of the driving instrument, they have to substantiate why the driving instrument was suspended. If they revoke the driving instrument, they have to substantiate why they revoked the driving instrument. This has to be reported to the United States Secretary of Transportation. If you're functioning in your private capacity and they're reporting this information to the United States Secretary of Transportation as some sort of commercial transaction or some commercial venue, that's fraud. But they're reporting this stuff to substantiate the federal dollars that they're receiving behind the motor vehicle program. It's all in Title 49. The whole thing is there. And this whole motor vehicle program has its inception in the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887. And in the title code, it falls under the Interstate Commerce Act. How do people operating in their private capacity become an interstate commerce activity? And you got stupid idiot Moore talking about you got to go in and negotiate the business. That's crazy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you know what? And they can get over on us because there's a lot of wars for whatever reason. They're going to go down that particular rabbit hole of let's talk business about my birthright, my inalienable and unalienable rights. Let's talk business about it. Go right down that rabbit hole. Because if you have not taken the necessary time to study and know about your birthright, you deserve to go down that never-ending rabbit hole. If you're going to take whatever somebody says and do zero studying and just run with it, you deserve to go down that rabbit hole.
I was laughing too. I was muted. I was laughing.
I mean, everything is a federal funding. Everything. But I'll say this. That American Constitution 91, let me tell you, you better be on it 1,000%. Everything is based on that document. That is an amazing document. Our ancestors put their foot in it when they wrote that up. I mean, good. But you will never know just how powerful that document is until you file a civil suit. And you better hope and pray that you're standing on that Constitution, baby, because if you ain't, you're going to be sliding off. Or you might get bumped off. If you ain't standing on that American Constitution of 1791, you about to get knocked down. You will never comprehend that. That's not a class. That's an experience.
Because that's where all authority is derived from for all of these people, every last one of them. And that's why it's so crazy, you know, when people say, oh, don't ask for a delegation of authority. They didn't read they didn't read Article 3 of the Constitution. It's right there.
That's right.
And their authority, you know, it's interesting because all authority of anyone operating on this land, occupying it, operating on it, whatever, is derived from that vacuum. And in it, it tells you what the states can't do, what the states can do, what the Congress can do, what the Congress can't do. It's all right there. And I have noticed just about everything that's in there that says what states can't do is what is happening because of what you said. No one is making it known. It's not making it known to the programs, which are the federal programs, who have contracted it to these states and other contractors that they've contracted to. No one is saying anything. So all they're receiving is these reports from these contractors, counties, cities, states, whatever, through the state, that said, yep, we gave out 1,000 tickets today to violators, you know, of Title 49. No, that's a fraudulent report. So they won't know that if you don't let them know. Pretty simple.
That's right.
And it's just as simple. And what do you say? They keep going to the same people who are actually violating you, complaining. That's not the one. They're doing this and been doing it for so long, and they know that you don't know who to go to or you don't know what to do or whatever. So you go in there and they say, well, look, they don't know law, so here's what we're going to do. You know, attorneys are really officers of our corporation. But since these people are coming up here looking for justice without any justice in them, how about if we say, look, you can hire one of our attorneys to speak for you? Yeah. And that's what people have done for generations. An attorney is an officer of the court. An attorney gives leave to the same court or so-called court that is opposing you. These are facts. These are not opinions. So anybody who says they're attorney, they're not talking no law. They're talking statutes too.
That's right. That's right. And you know what else? There is so much. You know what? This whole thing is set up to ensure that the people are protected. But if, number one, the people don't know, and number two, the people don't act on it, you know, anyone can come along and fleece you or even steal something as profound as your birthright. How the hell can they get away with that? Because the people are asleep. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said, listen closely, he said, I come to take you out of your mental enslavement. This is what he said. This is not Anita saying this. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I come to take you out of your enslavement. But just like in chapter 2, it says, but the people don't want the light. They do not want to let go of the mental enslavement. They hang on to it. They clutch it close like it's a lover. I mean, they hold on to it for their life. And then wonder why their life is the way it is. People are supposed to be joyous. You're supposed to be joyful. You know, I remember when when they started bringing in this facial recognition software. You know, one thing that messes that up, imagine this, one of the things that messes that whole program up is that you smile.
Yeah. I would tell people that, I think you just smile on your picture, on your identification, because you're right. It's the whole thing. You know what comes from that comes from our brothers want to be hard and stuff, you know.
Right? You be so-called real clean, they got the most sour face like they just sucked on a lemon. No joy whatsoever. Like, they're like a dark cloud. It sucks your energy from you. It's so dark. And they don't want to come up from under it. Not even to save their life. Just miserable. I'm like, how can you read? How can you read the prophets' work? How can you read the Holy Quran, the Brotherhood of the East, all of the works of the prophet, and be miserable?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can you? You know what? When I see people miserable, they got too much goddamn time on their hands. I said it. I cussed. Yes, I did. You got time to be miserable? You got too much time on your hands. Studying. Because if you're studying, you ain't got time to be miserable. You ain't got time to be moping around. You ain't got time to be the dark cloud of doom and gloom for everybody. And yes, you can find yourself in that little pocket, but it should just be momentary. Like I can tell you, like around November, Thanksgiving, that time, I can get sad and down. But it's usually not every day. I'm up and down. Between that time frame, I'm up and down, up and down. And I remember when I told Roz about it the first time, she told me, well, you know, it's around that time that a lot of our ancestors were massacred. And I was like, okay, well, that explains it. Now I know why. So it was easier to come up from underneath it. But some of us are sensitive, which means that you're going to be picking up on some of these energies. And you got to know you're picking up on energy. But it shouldn't weigh you down like you got like your atlas with the world on your shoulder. You gotta figure out a way to lighten up, because I don't know nothing good that manifests from negative, dark energy. I don't know nothing. So, you know, it's easy. See, look, if for no other reason, you should be joyous just so that you can throw a monkey wrench in the goddamn face recognition program. just that. Be smiling just for that. All these camera ticket things they got out there, all of that is based on face recognition. Smile. And then they doing the reverse psychology, because sometimes you go to these toggles and it'll say, smile, you're on camera. So what do people generally do when they see that? Get the old mean scroll look.
Yep.
We're so predictable, it's ridiculous. Look, we don't need to be predictable. The only way you ain't going to be predictable, let me tell you, that astrology wheel, everybody needs to be up in that astrology wheel. You know what? There's a comedian. I don't know who it was a female comedian. She said, and so rightly so, she said in these age and in this age and time, sound familiar? In this age and time, there is no excuse for anybody to not know. Because you can go on Google and find out anything. I was like, well, God, if that ain't the prophet, would you Ali speaking up the sister's mouth?
Yep.
Didn't he talk about in this age, in this electrifying age of information?
Yep.
You need to be studying.
Well,
is not just basically the same thing?
But remember when that was said and people still wanted to know what to study? Well, guess what? If you haven't studied the Constitution and know where you are in that will be a start.
Yes,
it will.
Yes, it will. And here's another challenge for you. I don't know, I don't think I'm special, but years ago, I'm going to try and pull up some of my old astrology books. Before I even got into this information and got a better understanding, I was into astrology. Just the basics, I learned how to draw my own circles. I learned how to look up the dates. I learned how to look up where the planets were based on the dates. I was all over the place with the astrology. Found out so much about myself that I decided I'm going to make some corrections because I will not be predictable like that. And I did. But you can't make any corrections if you don't take the time to study and know what your chart says. And don't give me no lame behind excuse about I don't know how to do my own chart. You got time on your hands. Don't tell me you ain't got time on your hands. Everybody got enough time. You know what? Back in my Amway days, I learned that when people say I ain't got time, that translates to I don't feel like doing it. Because if you really want to do something, you will make the time.
That's true.
You want to go to that concert next week, but you got to get off work at 5 and be at work at 11, and it starts at 7. You will find the time to be there, enjoy, and be at work on time. I have seen people tell me things. I ain't got the money, but you ain't got the money today for this endeavor, but tomorrow you go buy $100 jumpsuit. I learned.
Yeah, jumpsuit. You really dating yourself with the jumpsuit thing.
No, it wasn't a jumpsuit. It was a
No, whatever.
Because it was a sweatsuit. The matching top and bottom. It was like a super light type fabric.
The balloon had the balloon got out of style. Moor is not out of style. I thought it was, but I guess it's coming back. So that's like the dressy sweatsuit. You know what I mean? Or sweatpants and sweatshirt. Yeah, I saw a couple of them. Kind of cool. But anyway, let's move on.
We don't have any more callers, so we got 30 more minutes. We got 30 more minutes, and unless anyone have a question, comment, or concern on this Freestyle Tuesday, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will take the next caller. But we can continue to talk because there's just so much happening, and it's such a revelation. And look, if you don't see it unfolding around you, I guess you just don't have the eyes to see.
Or the ears to listen.
Or the ears to hear, but you can. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I was going to say, when you finish what you're saying, there's just two things I wanted to say. I was talking with someone, and I told him we would mention about tests So I did a thing, and I think I've counted up. I think I've counted up all the tests that we have throughout the site, and 9, 10, 11, and there's some that I haven't counted that are thrown in there, but there's a page called Open Readings. That's what it actually is called, Open Readings. And on that page, it lists the tests that we do have throughout the site. But there's some new ones that I have not added, and I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. So the 4 that is there is the 51 questions that was answered years ago when I think it was an affair at the National Theater, the Zulus had an affair, Who Are You, before 1492, I think it was. And there's 51 questions they put out onto the people over the Internet. And so those were answered. That's on on the Open Readings page. If you click, you'll go to that test. And then there's the sociology test. There's the etymology test. There's a nationalization preparation test. That's 4 that's right there. Now, these are not listed on the Open Readings as additional tests, but they are on the site. And that would be the 1643 on the Moor Heritage and History School page. The 1643 Confederation Comprehensive Test, meaning if you read the document, all the answers to the questions are in the document. How much more simple can that be? Because that test, your comprehension, you read it, have you comprehended it? Here, just like in school, right? Here's the test, here's the questions, and all the answers to the questions are in the daggone reading itself. So there's a 1643 and a 1777. Both of them are on the Moor Heritage and History School page. Moor Heritage and History School page. Also another one called the quiz. The interesting thing about that, the quiz was really a double-sided. If you read what's there on one page, it's just one page. And then the other side are the quiz questions. However, when you go on the Moor Heritage and History School page to pull it, it's not going to be double-sided. It's going to be 2 pages. And then there's the National Identification Card test, of which there's over 100 questions. I got to count them. That is a self-assessment test because you have to go research. Most of the answers are in the Law Dictionary. You have to go research the questions, and if you have the answers for the questions, and if you have those answers right, if you research them, it helps you so much in comprehending your position. So, and there's a few more, but so far I just read off about 10 different tests maybe. And the other thing is, if you don't get another caller, we can discuss again. Tired of discussing it, but the questions still come up about the birth certificate and this redeeming of that instrument, which is an instrument that proves human trafficking, and a bond, and you cannot capture all the places it has been monetized because it is what it is. We start, like, sometimes you'll answer something or address something, and you'll address it in a very simplistic manner that you realize later other people think it's ambiguous. So then you realize, oh, shoot, there has to be further digging and explanation. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so what's that? And you realize that that's how it is. For instance, when they say it's a contract, well, then you know that they don't know nothing about contract law.
That's right.
So we might say that, but the reality is it's true. They don't. So therefore they believe that it is a contract. And the reason is because they don't know what a contract is and is not. But you assume that if you assume or presume that if you say that they will go and figure out what that is. But they won't. They don't. So then you're like, okay, we got to break these down like that. And so then what else comes up? If you truly believe that you are a minor, so therefore that doesn't apply to you, but your mother or your father did put you in that is not even a contract. We're getting beyond that. Well, then your mother was a minor too then. And if she was a minor, then it still doesn't hold void. It's still void. Because she was in a minor mind when she did it, if that's what she did, because it's still not a contract. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. It's void. And so going out to make it void or make it voidable is an impossibility lawfully, because it's void ab initio. So then you go to those who say they study the prophet, right? And you show where, look, even he said when he was on the scene, there's no need for the 14th Amendment and 15th, he said, for the salvation of the people. So now you need to understand why he said it, because he already knew that shit was void, because it was established for what? Corporation. So now people might say, well, why are you saying that? What do you mean? This is unstudied people asking these questions. It's okay. It's all right. All right. Then go look up the word person. Because for you to understand why it was for corporations, you would have to look up the word persons, because they use that example of a corporate person as it is used in the first clause of the 14th Amendment. So they just told you in the definition of person that the person as it is used in the 14th Amendment is not a flesh and blood person. So that's why the prophet said it doesn't apply to you. So then one more step, right? One more step, the fact that, of course, it wasn't ratified, but it was actually for corporate persons. So when he said that it's not necessary for the salvation of the people, that's lies. So then you go into, well, there's stuff here that wasn't here when the prophet was here. It's all different now. Principles do not change, and if it's for corporate persons, which is proven and documented, right? And if he said it wasn't necessary, then any instrument that comes from the 14th Amendment is also void and not necessary for you. And lastly, that being the case, if you are aware that it is not that persons as it is meant in the 14th Amendment is for corporations, then you know that is not what you are, even if you thought you were yesterday. You found out today that you're not, let's say. So then you deal with a lawful terminology of nunc pro tunc, 3 words. Now for then. All right? And aside from that, you realize that nobody can change your descent nature, and the prophet said that, which means that the birth certificate has jack to do with your descent. Anyway, only nothing. So that doesn't change your descent nature. So therefore, you ignore that. No, but people want to go and try to authenticate it and say that it's them 3 times using the science. Well, then you say, well, damn, how are you going to authenticate something that's already authenticated? It's already got this state seal on it. What the heck is wrong with this thinking? So this information comes from studying it, and start with looking up person. When you look up person, it's going to prove to you that the 14th Amendment has jack to do. I don't care what they established. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't change your descent nature. Then you look up impropriate persona, so you will recognize that means you can't use an attorney. Now, what do you say about all these Moors that went out, because we forgot about this process that happened. They went out and said that they were, what was it in Eid? They didn't say they were attorneys. They said they were,
attorney generals.
All right. Was that it? Attorney general. Now, attorney general, look up X-Rail. Only two people can even use X-Rail, and that's an attorney general because he speaks for what? A corporation. So how can you be an attorney general? And the other person is someone who is, in fact, in their proper person. So tell me, why do people think? Because they went on this campaign, especially out in the West Coast, from what I understand. They are attorney generals all up and down the highway. What is that about? What makes them think they can be attorney generals?
Lack of information.
So there's a whole clan of that they got to back out of at some point. Everybody wants to be everything except for who they are. Everybody wants to create something new instead of dealing with that which is already ancient and designed to protect them. Like, what is that about?
Mm-hmm.
So now all these possibly good Moors, good thinking Moors possibly, or, somewhat in their capacity of mind and thought, because man is mind, now they got to first backpedal out of all that crap that these Europeans are going to hold them to as a contract that they established, supposedly being conscious as ills and days. They got to backtrack out of all that, at least in their mind first, before they can even get on board to go forward.
That's right.
As a nation. So everything to appeal to commerce when this is about birthright. What is this? Not that you can't do contracts. Not that you can't enter into contracts if that's what you wish to do, but you will enter in as a Moor and modify as a Moor, and terminate, if so, as a Moor, or whatever. None of that makes you a Moor. So, I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that because I spoke with someone earlier and I didn't have time to finish speaking with the sister about that because they brought that up. And then they got it. Now that they've done that, they got to create an estate. You already had an estate. You just gave it up by doing authentication bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
yeah,
they're going to hold, oh, my God, they're going to be held to that. They're going to have to really come up to the plate even more than what they had they studied first or studied, period. Now they're going to really have to pedal even harder once they come to the realization that they just put themselves into these contracts. Oh, and lastly, let's talk about, I got a little coarse throat here, but I hope I'm coming through clear. Let's talk about the Pope and writing to the Pope. What the hell is that? Because the Pope himself came here, stood on the Congress floor. Now, we know that who he is and who he is to these modern Europeans that's oppressing. We got that. But even they ain't coming up out of that. They're going themselves, as we mentioned earlier. He came on the Congress floor last. That's right. By the droves. They're going to get that boy that says he's the president of the new United States of America. They're going to bury his ass in a minute, for real. And anybody that follows that crap is going to get buried along with it. And then you're going to find yourself pedaling out of that, pedaling backwards. And then your ancestors is looking at you like, what is the matter with you? What is your problem? Your ancestors have always been here. But he comes on the floor of the Congress and tells all of them that they're immigrants and that he's an immigrant too. And we're going to write a letter to him. But he went back home, right? He went back home. And we're still here on our estate, and we're going to still be writing to him. He's like, damn, what's up with these? What is that? That's craziness. That's something that the modern Europeans did at first. That's just like when we had people write to the Department of State, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton when she was in. Oh, it made her come and tell the truth. Right? So,
yes, it did.
These modern, right? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, so
and then I'll yield. If these modern Europeans had been writing to the Pope, which they have been doing, and his ass came over here, and he came over here and said, hey, guess what? I ain't nothing but an immigrant, and so are you. See you, bye. I gave up the ghost. And here come Moor talking about writing letters to him. That's some asinine stuff right there. Truly.
Yeah.
It's the same equivalent. So we are left alone to build the nation, which is family, to acknowledge and recognize that this is our estate. Even the Pope said, I'm an immigrant. What the heavens to Betsy are we writing in for about our affairs? And listen, we're not talking, are we just talking and eat, or is there not a recording that anybody can probably dial up on the internet and get the speech?
We played it, and it's in the archives here.
It is in the archives.
It is in the archives, and maybe on our next broadcast we'll just play it. So
anybody who's out there telling you that crap is absolutely way behind the times, or they don't know about what's really going on, or they're trying to mislead you. I don't know which one it is, but pick one, because the Pope himself came and gave up the ghost, as I call it, on the blood moon, the last blood moon, which was the fall equinox, right? And it was the full moon, it was the eclipse, it was all kinds of stuff going on because that's their payday. Dave had told me he read The Succession of All Popes, and he said that they get paid, they collect on the equinox. It's right there in the Succession of the Popes document. They get paid on the fall equinox. I believe it's 2 weeks, the fall and the spring. I'm not sure, but it's definitely the fall equinox. That's when they get their little pay. So he came. Maybe he came to collect his last one, or I don't know. But I know one thing: he damn sure came and said, "Hey, I'm an immigrant. Y'all are immigrant. What y'all doing? Where's the Aboriginal people? Why they sleeping outside?" And all that is in his speech. So why would you write him? And Annie, what did you say? We're sitting here on our land. He comes, does that, and goes back all the way over there, and we think that we need to write to him? The hell? Thank you. That's crazy.
It is crazy. What it demonstrates is really what it's demonstrating is that, people don't know who is who or what is what. And because of this, they're making these blunders. But I'll say this, and then we can close out. I'll say this: anything that is said on MHHS-Eyes Wide Open, Moor's Heritage and History School, Sons of Allah, Sisters Standing on Law, do not just take it and run with it because we said it. We tell you these things for the same reason the prophet put certain things in some of his writings, for you to go and do the research and find out the whole story.
Because the half has not been told.
That's right. We can't tell you everything because some of the things that we said on these broadcasts have put many back to sleep because you just wasn't ready for it.
Well, we told everything anyway, though, and it's just that
right.
I'm
just saying, we tell it. We tell it.
Right. But they got to research.
And now you got to try and wake up. And you know what? And we don't say that to be boastful. We say that you won't understand it until you experience it. If you have ever had a high energy conversation with somebody that was on a different energy level, you can literally sit there and have a conversation and watch them shut down. And they're not aware that they are shutting down. Doesn't mean they're stupid, because there is no such thing as stupid per se. To me, stupid is when you've been told and you did it and you still going and
stupid is as stupid does. Stupid is as stupid does. That's what Gump said. Oh, and wait a minute, I don't want to interject. I want you to finish, but I just want to interject what you're saying also. The prophet said, if I told you everything, you would go back to sleep. So that's what you're talking about, because I've experienced it, and probably many people listening have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you'll get it when you had that until you have had that experience. It might sound like we're being boastful, but we're not. But you know what? This is what I have found, and I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm a private person, and solitude is a very good thing because it gives you the space and time to reflect. If you're studying, you got a lot to reflect on. If you're not studying, you ain't got jack to reflect on. And Facebook, let me tell you, Facebook is not study. All of these people, they're so in love with Facebook because they can get out there and be seen, be heard, and now they can be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook is a huge distraction.
Yeah.
Facebook is just an ego pusher. Facebook is like the heroin of today.
And an information gatherer. Information gatherer. I bet you there's people out there that got jacked up because of that.
Yeah, every now and then you might find something interesting on Facebook, but you got to wade through too much crap. It ain't worth it. You can get a book from RV Bay Publications. You can go on the RV Bay Publications website and download some of the free stuff and do some studying and find more than you would ever find wading through the crap on Facebook. It's a huge distraction. There's a reason that they went from MySpace. I think there might have been something else, and there was Facebook. Now there's Instagram. Now there's the
Twitter,
tweet,
a whole bit.
Twitter, and then something else. Snapchat. Look at all of these things. Huge distraction. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Look, tweet and Twitter like you're a bird, but you aren't free. That's for damn sure. And you know what? But look, I know there's people that got jacked up with that because they tell people where they are, where they were last night. They do that niggardly. We got a new word that we're using, but actually it's not a new word because it's in the Quran and Mecca, niggardly. That's a way that you act, an action. So I know that them doing that niggardly stuff and telling on their buddies that they went out with because they got mad at them and telling what they did and what they didn't do and where they are. And I know some people got jacked up with that with informants and stuff because informants are all over the Facebook. Yes, and they know everything about you. They got pictures of your mama, your daddy, your son, your daughter, your dog. And they'll come to you. Look, here's how they work. They'll come to you, which may be a side person connected to the person that they want to deal with or get with or try to make a criminal out of them, even if they weren't. So they'll come to you and they'll tell you stuff that they know. And now that makes you squeal even more. But the reason they know it is because you put it on Facebook.
That's right. And you know what's interesting? You got all of these, you got some Moors out there running around talking about, well, there's the public and then there's the private. That's a bunch of bull crap, especially when you got people yakking on Facebook. if you was private, you ain't private no more.
That's right.
All your business is out on Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or whatever. Look, I don't care what nobody say. I don't trust modern Europeans for nothing. All right? They can put all of that crap out there for a reason. And it ain't just about distracting you. I don't trust nothing that's out there put out by modern Europeans, and I don't trust nothing that is out in the public arena like that. You need to keep their mouth shut. You need to stay private. You need to understand what private means. Ain't nobody supposed to know where you are every second of the day. Look, the Godfather said, never let anybody outside of the family know what you're thinking. You got people on Facebook, you know everything that they thinking, what they getting ready to think, because they out there telling it. I know when I was growing up, whatever happens in the house, whatever happens in the family, stays in the house, stays in the family. I don't know where that got lost. Must be all up in the ego mess. But anyway, we've got to go now because it's 27 after. The line is going to go down
tomorrow.
2 minutes.
Tomorrow, just live class at New York.
Let everyone know Abdullah Mosley Talib Bey is going to be doing the class.
You always
did I say it?
Yeah. No, you said it right.
I do not like on people's names, but he will be there. He is our etymology, and make sure and check him out. The class, the doors open at 6:30. The class begins at 7:30. Make sure and go and check out Abdullah Mosley Talib Bey. He will be premiering his newly published book, and so we will be there. The following the first Wednesday we have Sister Carew, who speaks on health, and then we'll be back there the second and the third Wednesday of the month. With that, peace and love to everyone.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the biblioteca that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they nigga this right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then maybe, then just maybe we won't revolt.